As you learn about the narcissistic pattern, it's also wise to reflect on the much healthier alternatives. Now, below you're going to find a link to my new extensive course called Ready, Set, Connect. It addresses both the mindset and the skills involved in gratifying relationships, and I hope you'll find it to be quite therapeutic. Okay, I'm going to start with one of these very obvious kind of statements, and that's simply this. Narcissistic individuals have anger issues. Along with their whole need for control and their selfishness and their manipulation and their lack of empathy and their efforts to try to be superior, it's only natural to say that anger is just one step away, and whenever you're around them, you realize all I have to do is say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing or just sometimes just show up, and here comes the anger. Now, with the coverts, sometimes it takes a bit more time for it to come out because they tend to be a little bit more inclined towards passive-aggressive anger, but nonetheless, even with them, their anger is right there under the surface. It just has different ways of playing out. You can be loud and raucous and pushy and blaming in your anger. You can hold contempt and hold grudges and just have this chronic undertow of agitation in your anger. You can be passive aggressive with lots of non-compliance and evasiveness. Anger is just simply a go-to emotion with any and all people of the narcissistic bent. It's just part of what they are. And then taking it a little bit further, any efforts that you make to try to get them to see what's going on and perhaps get them to do something of a better nature is just going to be met with a lot of pushback, which then begs the question, are narcissists just basically committed to their anger? Because it seems as though they keep going back to it very quickly, almost like an old familiar friend. It's not a good friend, but it's someone that they know, and so they just keep going back to the anger over and over because that's just what they do. Now, the answer to that question, are they just basically committed to their anger? The answer to the question is yes, in the sense that they certainly don't choose to do anything about it. They make no efforts to change. But then, in addition to that, I want to add an addendum that frankly makes the whole problem a little bit more difficult, and that is they're committed to their anger, but on top of that, they're actually bound by their own anger. You see, anger in and of itself can have a useful function. There's simply going to be times when people and events and circumstances will present themselves in such a way that it creates an agitation on the inside of you. And in the best case scenario, anger can tap into your sense of self-preservation. And in self-preservation, your anger can prompt you to take a stand for your own sense of worth or dignity. The anger can be your way of saying that you want to have your needs addressed. Your anger can prompt you to stand firmly upon your convictions. And so when you look at anger that way, it actually can have a useful function. And there are actually ways that you can manage the anger, we call it assertiveness, in ways that can be constructive and can get you to a good place. Does that sound like anything that a narcissist will do? If there's anything constructive in their anger, even if at the base there may be a valid reason for them to feel that way, they're not trying to accomplish anything constructive at all. You see, when I say that not only are they committed to the anger, but they're bound by the anger, they basically have such an inability on the inside of themselves to manage tension that they're unable to come to terms with all of that inner turmoil. Therefore, what they do is they try to make you or whoever's in front of them responsible for feeling what they feel. It's going to be so important for you to realize the commitment they have to their anger lies in direct proportion to their inability to address lots of personal issues that have been on the inside of themselves for a long, long time. Now, if a narcissist could be honest, if there would be certain confessions that they would make regarding their anger. And I'm going to run through some of them, and I want you to think, are you ever going to hear these? For example, the angry narcissist, if they were honest, they would basically say, I don't know how to handle life's complexities. In fact, complexity threatens me. I feel inept to know what to do in terms of maneuvering through the different kinds of thoughts and feelings and perceptions that others bring to me. Nobody taught me how to manage differences well. And so what I do is I just keep going back to my anger. In addition, if they were honest, they would say, I don't really trust my coping skills. Therefore, if I don't trust my coping skills, why in the world would I trust whatever coping skills you bring towards me? They just naturally presume that they're inept and you're probably inept too. And so what they do is they just keep going back to the anger because they don't want to listen to you. In fact, if they were honest, what they would also say is, to mask my sense of inadequacy that I've been carrying all along, actually, I win if I can make you look inadequate. It doesn't take away my own problems, but if I can make you look worse, then, that gets me off the hook. I'm in good shape. Or in their anger, the narcissist is thinking, if I could put you on the defense, then that just takes me off the hook. So every single time I make you have to defend yourself and justify yourself, then that's that much less time we have to spend on my feelings of inadequacy. And then again, if they were honest, they would say, I've never been a team player. I don't care about empathy. I've never seen what's good or right in empathy. And today is not going to be a day when that's going to change. You see, ever since I was 3 years old, it's been all about me. Selfishness, going all the way back to my 3-year-old self, has been my go-to response. It's what I know best, and I'm good at it. And so I've been doing it ever since then, and that's not going to quit, at least not today. To the narcissist, they're thinking, if I somehow tune into your feelings, and if I actually listen to your input, that feels like defeat to me. It implies that you might know something that I don't know, and I would find that to be terribly humiliating. And then in addition, that narcissist is thinking, being controlling, and actually the correct word would be feeling like they're in control, gives me comfort. And don't you dare insinuate that in my anger, I'm actually going out of control. All I have to do is make you look like you're going out of control, and problem solved. So you see that narcissists, are they basically committed to their anger? The answer is yes, because they choose not to do anything about it. But they stick with their anger because they honestly don't know what to do with all of this inner turmoil that they carry around. And it's kind of crazy to make this analogy. It's analogous to their own house being on fire, but instead of doing something about it, they point to the house across the street and they say, hey, I think there might be a fire over there. It's like, is that the best logic you can come up with? And their thing is, well, until further notice, yes, that's the way I think. And let's go back and recognize, if this is the kind of reasoning they have, and if they think that the best way to come to terms with all of their inner turmoil is to somehow point the finger at you, make you look bad, and get the attention off of their ineptitude, if that's their reasoning, it's like, no. I don't want to do that. Now I want to acknowledge something to you, and I hope that you can be honest with yourself. The absolute craziest thing that you can do when narcissists keep coming at you with their off-base anger is you can try to dish it right back. Because what that means is you've said, okay, I know you have that game going. I'll join you in that game. And it's rigged, and you will lose, and then it perpetuates their avoidance game, so they get to declare themselves the winner because you're over there being something that you're not supposed to be. So why don't we look at a much more clear response, knowing that they have this commitment to the anger and the cover-up that it provides for them? First and foremost, we're going to say, I'm on to you. Your anger is designed to A, make me look bad, and B, make me responsible for all of your inner tension that you don't know how to come to terms with. Plain and simple. Why in the world would I want to go along with something like that? You, the narcissist, have committed yourself to anger as a coping skill, in fact, a primary coping skill, and that makes no sense to me. If we want to have an exchange in the midst of frustration in a healthy and constructive way, I'm all for that. But, and as for me, whenever I feel anger, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to communicate in a clean kind of way, but then I'm going to take responsibility, and then I'm going to move on to my higher priorities, because you see, I'm not committed to anger. I'm committed to healthiness. I'm committed to taking responsibility for myself, and I'm sorry that that's not a position that you take, but I'm not going to do that. And oh, by the way, in the meantime, as I move away from that anger style of yours, I'm not going to keep sticking around to see what kind of stunt that 3-year-old self of yours is going to pull next. Now, I hope that videos such as this can give you some good ideas about what you're dealing with and what's going on behind the scenes. I think you can tell that Gus doesn't exactly have an anger issue, and he and I are trying to work on having that mutual regard that we talk about so much here on our Surviving Narcissism channel. If you've not already hit the subscribe button, I would encourage you to do so, and Gus and I will keep more videos coming in your direction. I genuinely thank you for letting me be a part of your journey. I take my role in it seriously, and just know we're all fellow sojourners in this path. If you have a need for therapy, for somebody to help you unpack this, I'm so pleased to be sponsored by the people at BetterHelp.com. There's a link below the video here that will take you to their website. There's a whole team of licensed professional therapists that can assist you in that regard. I would strongly encourage you to look into that if that's something you could use. In addition, I have my therapeutic courses, and these have, each course has multiple videos with teaching materials, and then also guided questions to take you in a therapeutic direction. Ready, Set, Connect, about having healthy connection skills. This is me about establishing your good boundaries. Free to Be, about finding yourself despite the controllers. We have my podcast now, and frankly, quite a number of you are jumping on with that, and so I would encourage you to look into that if that's your thing that you like to do. We have my books. We have our website with many articles on it, other resources that are all listed below. You know, the angry narcissist is indeed committed to their anger, but they're more so they're committed to the process of hiding behind the anger so that they don't have to deal with all that garbage that they have not been able to come to terms with. The more you see it, the more you can't unsee it. And so as you're aware of where they are, then it means thanks but no thanks. I'm not going to take responsibility for what they can't come to terms with. I have better things to do being over here on Team Healthy. I want to live into dignity, respect, and civility. And in the end, I'm hoping that that's going to take you, it's going to take me to our place of peace, a much better alternative.